Hello, thanks for joining a new video. Today I have the HUAWEI Pura80 Pro with me, and I'll share what I liked and didn't like after testing it in case you're thinking of purchasing it. So, as always, make sure you watch this video before buying the HUAWEI Pura80 Pro. Let's take into account the launch price in Mexico, which has been set at 23,999 pesos. However, it should be noted that Huawei often implements very aggressive promotions, sometimes even offering 2% for the price of one. So, if you happen to find it at a significantly lower price, I believe you can overlook several of the aspects we've not been too fond of. Nonetheless, as is customary, we always base our evaluations on the launch price to assess it accurately and fairly against its competitors. Let's start with what I liked the most. The device comes with IP69. So we will find a remarkably high level of resistance against water, unlike, for example, Samsung and Apple that continue to place only IP68. You will also notice that the selfies are quite wide and with a remarkably good quality in their color rendition. In fact, Huawei always tends to stand out a lot at the level of cameras and photographs, and this will be no exception. We discovered a camera featuring a variable aperture, along with a telephoto camera that has tele-macro capabilities, which truly captures some stunningly detailed pictures. The portrait photography is quite impressive as well. You can even utilize the telephoto camera without engaging the portrait mode, and it still produces a remarkably pleasing natural bokeh effect. Additionally, when recording video, we observe a focus with excellent precision. Even when using the telephoto lens, you can capture macro scenes or create a bokeh effect that is also quite professional. When recording video, it looks really impressive in those specific sections. In fact, the backlight recording is remarkably good as well, so it not only stands out for its excellent picture quality, but also for its very good video quality overall. Additionally, it has infrared capabilities that allow it to function as a universal remote control, which is something that is not typically found in most flagship devices. For instance, Samsung and Apple don't use it, but you can control your TV, air conditioner, or other devices here. And finally, on the positive side, it includes a 100 watts charger right in the box. During my tests, it charged from 0 to 46. In just 15 minutes and charging from completely off at 0 to 100. Took only 44 minutes. Given that it's advised to start charging when it's at 15 or 20%, I would estimate that your charging sessions can last around 30 minutes, making it incredibly fast. Now, let me share what I didn't like as much. To begin with, the equalizer is only available for headphones and not for the speaker, which clearly limits the sound output and shows us that Huawei software hasn't advanced much recently. Furthermore, we will only find 4G capacity, not 5G. Although, to be honest, the difference in maximum mobile data speed isn't that significant nowadays, but if you realize at times that you might not be able to enjoy the most optimal and fastest speed. Additionally, it indeed has NFC, however. Since it lacks Google Wallet or Google Pay, you won't be able to make payments with your cell phone, at least not in a straightforward manner. In other words, you could attempt to locate a bank that is accessible in App Gallery and provides the NFC payment service, which I believe would be quite specific. This is because although it is possible to unofficially install several Google services, specifically Google Pay, I have not been able to make it work, so I find that option to be quite complicated. If you truly enjoyed making payments using your cell phone, however, in this situation, you will find it almost impossible to use them effectively. Indeed, the lack of pre-installed Google services is clearly another downside, particularly if you are a user who is not very tech-savvy, if you have a friend or family member who fits that description, or if you enjoy experimenting with different options. I do not think it will be a disadvantage, because you can get to install virtually all Google services, and you can use them without problems. Android Auto is complex, with many permissions and steps. It can work, but it's unstable. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. So, if you really enjoy connecting your cell phone to your vehicle screen, you will encounter a significant disadvantage. Actually, for gamers, I would not recommend it either. There are some games that are quite challenging to install, or you might not even be able to recover their progress. Additionally, the device's performance is not as high as what we could find in other flagship models that support more advanced graphic effects and other features. As you'll notice, it is a device that I believe focuses heavily on the camera experience and is quite impressive in that regard. However, let me mention one last minor complaint about this, which is that previously Huawei allowed us to switch to the front camera while recording. Curiously, this feature is no longer available. Now, you actually have to stop recording before you can rotate to the front camera, which I find quite strange and unexpected. Hopefully they will bring back that feature, as it is something Huawei has done in the past, but for some reason they have removed it. If you've already purchased it, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Share if you've encountered any issues with Google services that I might not have noticed, or if you haven't faced any inconvenience at all. Tell us everything down here, including your thoughts on the cameras, the battery life, and anything else you want to share. We really want to know your thoughts, especially if you've dropped it. Please share how it has held up under daily use. For now, that's all we have. I truly hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, feel free to let us know, and we'll catch up with you next time.